Hi everyone, Stephen here. I just wanted to bring you an encouraging message in this time of difficulty, uncertainty, wherever you might be going through right now. I know it's not easy, and 2020 is not going the way that any of us had planned, I'm sure. But that's why I wanted just to share an encouraging thought that I've been looking at over the past few days, and hopefully it can bring you some joy and some hope and encouragement in these next few days. Um, what I want to focus on today is the book of Habakkuk. And so, any of you who haven't read it, Habakkuk is a book by he was a prophet, and basically the whole book is only 3 chapters long, but it just revolves around him having these complaints and bringing them to God about the time that he was in, and the things that were going on. So the people of Judah, in the land of Judah, were so evil. They had turned away from God, and they were just completely in sin and just blinded by their sin, and just thought that everything was great, and that they were class, and God has just been pushed to the side. And basically Habakkuk comes with this complaint saying, like, God, where are you? Like, all this evil is happening in the world and you're nowhere to be seen. Like, why aren't you punishing this? Why aren't you saving us? Like, come and help us. Like, where are you? Why do I always have to call out to you? Where are you? And what's great is the Lord's response in verse 5. He says, look among the nations and see, wonder and be astonished, for I am doing a work in your days that you would not believe if I told you. I just think this is class for the meantime, or the situation that we're in at the minute, that even if God told us what he was doing amongst the nations with all of this coronavirus, like, we wouldn't believe it. And that just shows how great God is in that. The fact that God is merciful and just and sovereign, and even though we, his creation, don't see it and don't always understand it, we have to believe that is true, that God is in control, and that God is working behind the scenes, even when we can't see him or when we can't understand it, that he is. And basically, by the end of this book, by the end of chapter 3, we see a complete turnaround in Habakkuk's perception of what God is doing. And basically, God reveals that a Babylonian army is going to come and basically take them out. And by the end of that, Habakkuk is okay with that. He's at peace. And this is when we find the stage where the book ends in these 2 verses 17 and 18 of chapter 3. Though the fig tree should not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, the produce of the olive may fail, the fields yield no food, the flock be cut from the fold, and there be no herds in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord, and I will take joy in the God of my salvation. Like, that is just amazing. And if you think about it right now, that, what's going on around the world, whether it be in the UK or Italy or China, Iran, wherever that may be, in the hardship that you're going through, in the difficulty, in the isolation, in the loss of loved ones, that you can stand there and say, even though this is disappearing around me, my hope doesn't come from that. My joy doesn't come from that. My hope is in God and is in Jesus, who died for me and saved my sins. And that is the reason why I'm living. That is everything in my life. And I think that is absolutely amazing. And that's where we need to be as Christians. And, like, these next few days, these next few weeks, when we're told to stay indoors and not go out, that we have all this time at home. And we could really be using it to spend time with God. To actually put in place a daily routine of spending time in his word, and just growing in love with him. And I think that's, although we can't see it, but we have so many distractions in life, and literally this pandemic that's going around is just taking all of them out, and we are being told to stay indoors and to literally do nothing. unless you're working from home. But still, even at night times, you're free. Like you have so much time to spend in God's word. Um, and yeah, that God is doing this amazing work and that our security is in God. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, there's a part of the city that um, they all met at their windows of their house. So they're all staying indoors, and basically they play on these big speakers because he lives, and you see all the lights on in all the apartments, all the houses and stuff, and there's just this massive roar and echo of the people singing, because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know that he holds the future, and it is worth the living just because he lives. And you think like just that God is doing an amazing work throughout the world and that we can't even see. And just to think, that these people as Christians are rising up and saying, Jesus is enough, that you may take my food, you may take my livelihood, everything that I have, but still Jesus is enough in my life and I don't need anything else, because that's what life revolves around. So my encouragement to you today is just to get stuck into God's word, to realize that we are here to share the good news. You look on BBC and it's all this bad news about coronavirus and stuff, but we have the good news right in front of us, and we need to share that with people. And we need to be the light and the hope in the world when there isn't any at the minute. And people can look at us and be like, wow, what is so different about them when everything is taken away from them, that they can say that God is their hope, that God is enough, and that they can still be satisfied in life. And that's where we need to be as a church, and to think through how can we help people in these next coming days and be that light and that beacon. So yeah, I just encourage you to spend some time with God while you have it, and just think about how you can spread his love. Yeah, so I hope everything's well with you when you get this, and that can be some encouragement for you. And yeah, thanks.